I'm
Happy to
so
be
happy.
here. Thank you.
Yeah, I, I'm I'm truly excited about having you as our guest. So thank you for joining. We are excited to launch the Let's Design Change podcast, the Blue Mood podcast that we are just about to launch. So thank you very much for joining us, Dragos.
Thank you,
So
Teresa. And it's an honor to be your first guest. I'm really privileged. And the standard is already, the pressure is on. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm looking
yeah,
forward to doing this.
yeah. So let me explain how Dragos and I met. That was many years ago that I had the privilege of meeting Dragos in a service design conference. You remember Dragos? And since then, we were having monthly calls. So we were catching up and we share our projects, we share our challenges, and you have really been like a sounding board to me. So thank you so much for being so close to me. And I'm really delighted to have you in our podcast today. Thank you. So, Dragos, please take just a moment to introduce yourself.
Yeah. All right. So again, thank you for having me here. I'm really happy to kicking this off with you. And as you said, we've been having a great relationship, online and offline. I'm traveling to your
Yeah.
city every now and then, so that's a great way to connect and keep in contact. A little bit about me. So I'm a dad, first of all. I have two kids, 15 and 19, which are big inspiration because they are the young adults age when they start
Yeah.
questioning the world around them. And this is a great moment for me to pause and think about the world and think about things we take for granted. And they're just great at challenging a lot of the status quo, and I love that because that's kind of the same thing that um, I'm passionate about, at looking
Yeah.
at the world around me and looking from different angles. So I'm a guy of intersections, trying to combine all kinds of disciplines and sciences and look through all these lenses to understand the human behavior, the medium in which the human behavior happens, how we interact with things around us, experience we have, the
Yeah.
memories we make, the decisions, and what influences that. So, and ever since I started my career, like 20 plus years ago, I started in market research, then I worked in marketing, then in
Yeah.
management, then consulting, and so on. And now for the past 6-7 years I've been in the space, what you call
Yeah.
human-centered design, service
Totally.
design thinking, all this stuff,
Yeah.
which is exactly what I'm passionate about. And my
Yeah.
mission is basically to democratize, let's say, this discipline in a way that more and more people think creatively and think
Totally.
collaboratively and work
Yeah.
collaboratively and think creatively about the challenges they face and how
Yeah.
they can reshape the future in a more meaningful way for both
Yeah.
themselves and the planet and everything. Yeah,
That's
go ahead.
great. You are truly remarkable. So, in order to deep dive a bit more about your extensive experience, now you have just launched your new firm portal, where you empower businesses towards growth, acceleration, innovation processes, customer-centric co-creation. So, tell us about more about what are those common challenges that you have observed that businesses face regarding growth?
Um, it's very simple, actually, but it's also very difficult for them most of the times.
Mhm.
The biggest one that I observed is an excessive focus on products or
Yeah.
processes or procedures or
Hmm.
operations. So
Yeah.
basically, because especially when they grow a little bit more than just being startups or scale ups, and they become mid-size or large size. I worked quite a lot with corporations, but also with
Yes.
middle-sized
Hmm.
companies. I see that they talk when we start talking, they just talk products. They talk products, they talk features, they talk functionalities, they talk the backlog of what they need to ship, what they need to build, and all that stuff. And it seems to me like they almost like forgot who they're working for, who pays them sometimes, or when they bring in the customer, they bring in the customer more either more superficially or very generically, without really empathizing, understanding really the missions of the customer, the jobs or the needs they have, and all that stuff, the pains and so on. So it's almost like they started on a good space and solved problems, and then all of a sudden they kind of just try to build products but forget to solve problems with the product. And that's the gap that I'm trying to sort of help them to back in, let's say.
And this is where we get connected. And you and me, we have spent many hours talking about human-centric design or design thinking. And I'm curious to know, how do you empower using human-centric design to create innovative solutions for your clients?
I think for me, the norm and the most powerful, obviously there is a design discipline with all the methods, all the tools, and all the, steps and everything. But beyond that, I think the most important principle is what I call co-design or co-creation, in which we're not an external agency scanning and doing the solutions and coming with the solutions to the client or customer. We bring in the client's team, and we go and do interviews or observations with them. We involve them in synthesizing whatever we find from the customers. We do data mining together with them. We do ideation sessions with them. So the ideas come from them, not from us. We just guide them. So we're more like coaches. I mean, me and my team, we're more like coaches than, let's say, creators on the client problem. We're more like the coaches of them being the creators on their own problems, creators of the solutions of their own problems. And I think that's key, because it empowers the company to carry on and implement the solution. Because if it's just us bringing the solution from outside, maybe they wouldn't necessarily have the same energy to push it in the next stages of towards the launch and implementation. And that's key. And we also recently started to bring in more resources in the, let's say, between what we call like the typical design process, where you come up with concepts that you test and validate, and you get the desirability, let's say, box checked. We also go into the phases of viability and feasibility, in which we bring our own experts or coaches in tech enablement or business model design, revenue operations and stuff like that, so that you design the entire business model, not only a product, but the entire business model, and we get you as close as possible to the launch. And that's kind of the idea. We want to help you get to the launch, not to the concepts. Many
Dragos,
other,
I know. I was wondering, in our conversations that we had in our monthly calls, we were digging in and getting into detail about some specific cases and some examples that we were working on. I wonder if you could share with us an example where you have used this approach about human-centric design, and that has led you to a significant growth or transformation for your client. Do you have any specific case or any specific example that you could share with us?
Yeah, I can share a couple of them. One is actually before my time as let's say, as a formal human-centered designer. When I was working in my businesses that I was running, it wasn't my own, but I was the CEO, and we did a transformation because our sales were going down and we didn't understand what was happening. We were using this distributor. It was an FMCG product. We were using the distributor, we were talking to them and they were saying things and didn't make sense, and the sales were dropping. And then we said, like, it's not right. We got to go out there. see what's happening, so it was like empathy phase in the
Yeah.
design space, whatever, and we did observations, we did visits to customers, we understood how the product was moving towards the, in
Mm.
this whole pipeline until it ended, until it reached the end consumer. We got a lot of insights, a lot of the things actually that we thought in the office, in the real life, they were the opposite, if you can
Wow.
imagine. We thought people were doing this because of this, and when we went there, they were doing this because of a different reason, or they were doing the opposite. But the reason, cause would be the
Yeah.
same, but the behavior would be different. So that is something that was quite empowering, because we could redesign our entire go-to-market strategy and
Hmm.
activities. And we actually went from minus 29% in sales to plus 200 in like
Wow.
1 year about.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a massive
Awesome.
success. Yeah, and it
Totally.
was basically before my time of knowing anything about design. I was doing this stuff already.
So you
Now,
were.
and,
Yeah.
and then when I started working with clients, a great example that we have live in the market here in Romania is a hypermarket chain. It's called Carrefour, which is, a European. They're French, and they asked us a few years back to work on their loyalty program service,
Mm.
let's say, so, and make
Uh-huh.
it part of their application of the digital app they have, and all that, because they were having a clunky thing that didn't work and so on. And we worked with them, and what the brief was, they said, we want something that is innovative. We
Mm.
don't want to come up with something that is, buyers accumulate points and then they get a discount for that. That is the
Yeah.
usual loyalty programs. You get the miles and then you get some
Hmm.
extra benefits or some
Hmm.
discounts or something on some products. And they said, we could have that, but that's not our focus. We want something beyond that. So we
Yeah.
worked with them. We did interviews. We did a
Yeah.
lot of, all the ethnography and all that. And what we created with them, or what they created with us, let's say, because it's actually
Yeah.
the fruit of
Totally.
their own creation, is a loyalty program that is called Act for Good. And you
Hmm.
basically, if you accumulate points, you can donate your points to your favorite NGO cause or something like that,
Oh,
non-profit cause. Or
that's yeah,
if you
that's
do
resonates
recycling,
a lot. Yeah.
yeah, and you can earn points, like loyalty points, if you do
Mm.
recycling. So if you bring back, plastic or batteries and things like that back to the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
store, but you can put it
And
back in the recycling
yeah.
chain. I get points on my loyalty program.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can
So
get
that
loyalty programs for buying things, but
so
and
that's
that's
great.
live, and it's really
Hmm.
successful now
And
in Romania.
what I hear from you is that you were co-creating with your client, looking towards things that were practical and that was making sense to them. So that's really part of this first stage of the empathy stage, right? Of getting in touch with what are those needs, uh, to whom are we designing for, and get very much in deep on what are their desires and their emotions and what do they think, what do they say,
Yeah,
so to analyze all those aspects. So that's
yeah, and
fantastic.
also
Yeah.
just to add on that,
Yes.
also what is important is finding the things that move the consumers, buyers, or whatever you call them,
Yeah.
clients, to make the choice towards this company over the other. So for these guys, it was important to have something that would differentiate them in the market versus other
Mm.
loyalty programs, which are
Mm.
just standard thing of accumulating points
Yeah.
and getting discounts or benefits. And they
Yeah.
said, we don't want that. We want something that's different, that is innovative, and it would make us stand out.
Yeah. That's
And it
fantastic.
does.
Hmm. Yeah, I really love when you explain those examples, and we see that using this way of and this approach, it can be used to customers, it can be used to employees, to candidates, it even can be used to patients, whatever situations that you are facing where you need to explore the experience. It's great to use it. So that's fantastic to see this experience. So let's explore now your approach to innovation, right?
Mm.
So you activate innovation through guided sessions. helping your companies or your clients to ideate and prototype new ideas, as you were sharing just now. Could you walk us through your approach during those sessions, and how do you do it?
For us, we spend a lot of time before the sessions to design the sessions. So if you
Yeah.
think of us as designers, we spend time of making sure that the experience of the people in the sessions is as delightful and as
I
productive
love
as
it.
possible. And that requires us to be designers on our
Totally.
own end, let's say, and think about, the energy level, the
Mm,
space we
I
have,
love it.
the tools we
Yeah.
use, everything. So
All
we
the details.
actually all the
Totally.
details, exactly. So we're
Yeah.
doing service design for the work, for the sessions, for the sessions is actually our way of going through the customer
Yeah.
journey in the
Yeah.
session. If you can, if you think about it like that, the session is it's a service,
Yeah.
and
Totally.
that's how we look at it. And it's important that the people who are creating, the people who are
Hmm.
the participants in these sessions, in these workshops, whatever you call them,
Yeah. The
and also,
participants.
yeah, they would get that type of experience, but
Mm,
also engaging with the higher level, the sponsors. We
yeah.
need to, we always make sure that we bring sponsors in key moments of decision making, so that
Hmm.
sponsors don't find out
Yeah.
about the solutions or the ideas
Mm,
too late, and they say, oh no, that wouldn't work because of this and that strategy, and so on,
yeah.
or policy or whatever. So we try to bring them as soon as possible, the sponsors as well,
From the
not
beginning. Yeah.
exactly, not as heavy in terms of time as the other, let's say the design team. We usually work with
Yeah.
a what do you call a
Hmm.
core team
Yeah.
from the client, like 7, 8, 10 people, and
Hmm.
we go through a process of a few months of
Yeah.
designing with them. But then the sponsors we bring every few weeks at key
That's
points
yeah.
and make decisions, and that's
Yeah.
also very important. It's essential
Yeah.
in our approach, and we found out without that
Mm,
we failed. So it
yeah.
happened that we failed without involving the sponsors at the right times, let's say.
Yeah, that's
um,
fantastic. That's a great tip. And going deeply on this innovation process that you follow, what would it be if you could magically resolve one everyday innovation challenge overnight that your clients face? What would that be?
I would say that the mindset, if I
Mm,
could change the mindset over one night, that would be
yeah,
awesome.
that's like
Because
the bottleneck, no? Yeah, you're
yeah, the
always
bottleneck
struggling
is
with the mindset. Yeah,
exactly, yeah, yeah,
totally.
yeah. It's a mindset, and or the culture. You can call it the culture or the mindset.
Yes.
But bringing innovation in a system that works more or less,
Hmm.
for those people, it's really difficult to integrate new products, integrate innovations,
Yeah.
integrate new services, or even better ways of doing things, because they come with some pain of change. So
Yeah.
change is difficult, and we recognize
Yeah.
that. And it's not only it's at the sponsor level, at the design team level, but also at the entire company. Because once you
Yeah.
introduce a new product, it will affect everyone in the company, or a new
Yeah.
service or a new feature in the service may affect everyone in the
Yeah.
company. So
I
so
l-
that's
yeah.
another thing about, when
I
we
love.
design together with them.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I love I love how you are saying it, because I'm thinking that that's exactly the purpose of this podcast. So, with this name about let's design change, what we want is exactly to tackle that. No, this if we could solve it magically, so that would be in terms of how do we address this change, how do we help our teams to change their mindset, to change the culture of an organization. So that's really
Yeah,
what matters, and that's really difficult to make it happen.
yeah,
So that's the
yeah,
purpose of this podcast. So I'm really glad that you spotted like the main challenge that you face. And
yeah,
let's deep dive also, because um, when we talk, you always point out the importance of creating this exceptional customer experience. So that's like the thing that we need to care about. So which that implies to have a deep understanding of what are the customer needs and their desires. So how do you approach of gathering feedback and insight from customers to co-create? We were saying that co-creation is so relevant to co-create with the teams, not just to go there and say what to what they have to do, but that they co-create by themselves. So how do you make it happen?
For us, we're not. There's nothing special, but what is special is that we're trying to push always to go 2 steps farther down in understanding the customer.
Oh, wow.
It's usually, I mean, obviously, when you do customer interviews or observations, you can gather a lot of data. But then, what we're trying to do always with our, let's say the team that we work with from the client is
Yeah.
to say, okay, let's look beyond that 1 or 2 levels down, or even 3 levels down, and see what do you think that means.
Yeah.
What is the, if this person acts like that, or if they said that is what they're
Yeah.
looking for,
Yeah.
is there
It
something
reminds
deeper?
me, Dragos, it reminds me to the technique of the 5 whys, of asking
Exactly.
why 5 times in order to deep dive more, in order to understand what really
Yeah.
is there and what the data is showing to us. Yeah.
Yeah. And we use 5 whys in the interviews, but sometimes we may miss a moment. But then when we look in the transcripts, or we look at the
Yeah.
videos, or we start talking about it, maybe with people that didn't see the interview, they start asking, oh, but why is that? And why is that? And all of a sudden, we need to make our own sort of educated guesses about the meanings, the deeper meanings, or the
Yeah.
hidden needs, as we call them.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
great, but it gives a lot of anxiety usually in the process, because we don't know for sure if that's because they didn't say it exactly
Yeah.
like that. But
Totally.
that's where the innovation happens. That's the only space where innovation can really happen. It's in these educated guesses or these intuitions of
Yeah.
ours, and then when we transform them in prototypes, some of those let's say hypotheses will be killed by the customers in the customer
Totally.
testing, but that's fine, because we're going to create a bunch of them, not just one idea or one solution. And that is one of the things that, for me, it's kind of a criticism to overusing or over abusing customer journeys, because sometimes customer journeys just give you that superficial interaction points,
Yeah, you're right.
and you just end up recreating micro points
Yeah.
innovating on micro points of the journey. But what I'm interested more is the overall bigger mission of that person, which may mean that I can throw away the entire customer journey and create a completely new customer journey, because I understood there is a different mission that this customer journey, okay, maybe it does. And I'm not talking about like a checking out at the e-commerce website. That's obviously something very standard. But I'm talking things that even sometimes you don't have customer
Yeah.
journeys. You
Yeah.
don't have touch points, because
And
it's recurrent tasks, let's say, every
yeah.
day. And the journey, it's a
Yeah.
completely different discussion, so
Totally.
anyhow.
And Dragos, how do you measure your intervention's success in delivering these outstanding and these exceptional human-centric experiences? So, what about measures?
Well, one simple measure, if we get a client to call us back and do more work with them, and we have
That's
quite a
the
few of
best
them,
measure you can
that's,
have. Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, because it's, if the client calls us back, it means we did something that they
Yeah.
appreciate. And obviously, how many of our products get launched? They get, I mean, of course, not how many of our products, but how many of our projects end up with a launch, because some of our projects would just sit there or be killed or whatever, because obviously sometimes the big organizations may change priorities and strategies, or simply not be able to fund all of the innovations. But we're looking at that as well. And in some cases, it could be other indicators like revenue. And
Yeah.
but of course they're not under our control. So if I look at the
Yeah.
revenue, that's not really under my control. That's already after launch, post-launch work of the
Mm-hmm.
team, and we're not getting involved in that part.
Yeah. Okay.
It's already in the
So
operations of the company.
yeah. So as we were saying, another essential aspect that you deal with is this co-create the customer journeys to enhance this overall experience. How do you identify these touch points, and how do you map out the customer's interactions?
Well, this is very simple, but there are two main ways that we work with. First of all, is observation or
Yeah.
shadowing or show us.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of the exact experience, but also, so if you're using an app, I wouldn't do an interview with you. I would like you to open the app in front of me and take
Yeah.
me through your
Yeah.
job, whatever you do in that app. I'd like to see what you're doing. I may
Exactly.
even give you a
Yeah.
task, and I say, okay, do buy a product, or find information, or
And
whatever
show
you.
me how you do it. Right.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
just open and do it,
Yeah.
and then I'll ask
Mm-hmm.
questions when I see the moments, key moments. The other one is through memories. So if we're talking let's say of larger things, like let's say loyalty programs, we're talking about loyalty programs, the example I gave you before. That's not really a journey, like using your loyalty card now and then. That's not really a touch point journey. It can be a micro touch points, but it's more difficult to do a customer journey on using your loyalty, your loyalty benefits and stuff like that. What we do there, we're trying to understand what is the role of of loyalty for them. Where do they have loyalty programs? Where they don't? Where they use
Mm.
them? Where they don't use? They have them and
Mm.
they don't use them, and why? And we ask them from the past 3 months, 6 months, and we say, okay, tell
Mm.
me which ones you used in the last 3 months, which loyalty benefits you used, on what company, why is that important
Yeah.
to you, and the 5 hours and
Yeah.
everything. So for
Yeah.
that example, for example, it's not really about customer journey. It's more about the overall role of that particular functionality or benefit or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
for the people, so that we can understand the lower needs, the deeper needs, and then based on those deeper needs, we can go back to uh, basically innovating. It's not
Yeah. So
recreating
that's
touch points.
exactly. It goes beyond recreating touch points. It's more to really deep dive on understanding the behaviors of the person that is dealing with the topic that we are analyzing. So
Yeah,
that's
and the
so very
motivators of those behaviors, the things that
exactly.
propel us to do one thing or the other, what influences us, what are the moments, when
Yeah.
are we having hesitations, why, what are the
Yeah.
biases, cognitive bias. We use quite a lot of cognitive, behavioral science to understand the
Okay.
cognitive biases and all that stuff. So we're trying to blend more disciplines in this neuroscience as well,
Yeah.
um,
That's
because there's a
fascinating.
lot of
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of discoveries in that recently, that even if you think of customer journeys, the story mapping from Hollywood and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
those are all things that we try to
To
fuse
combine.
in the way we
Mm-hmm.
work, exactly, blend
Mm-hmm.
in the way we work with,
Mm.
and
Right.
even educate the client teams, because
Mm.
people who are
Mm.
involved in daily operations, they don't have time to read books, to read articles, to read the new
Yeah.
discoveries in cognitive behavior and so on. So we do that basically, and we fuse those, and with
Yeah.
that comes education, and
Yeah.
about the mindset shift. That comes through the process of working on a
Yeah.
project and getting these educational bits from us, and you become both more knowledgeable, you have more
Yeah.
confidence in you and your organization and your team and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, I like your approach that you are saying about educating your teams and your clients, and you are someone that is very close to your client, very grounded, and always looking for business impact. Could you share the most unexpected advice that you have ever given to a client on this task that
Yeah.
you were saying about educating on having this change of mindset? What is that? What's this unexpected advice that you have ever given?
Well, let's see. Unexpected for me or for them? I guess for them. Let's say for them, not for me.
Yeah,
But
mainly for them. Yeah.
for them, exactly. And it obviously, I'm not, we're trying not to be advisors, we're trying to be more coaches, obviously, but in this case I was a little bit more of an advisor. This is very recent, actually. Last year
Mm-hmm.
we've been working with a company, and they have a too broad range of products that doesn't sustain a clear
Mm-hmm.
strategy. And what we were very adamant about was, in our advice, was, you guys have to cut down on the range. You have to say no, you
Mm.
have to kill some products. That's it. You gotta let go. And the fear of missing out and killing your products
Mm.
is one of the most difficult things that any company would have to do. It's firing people and killing products. That's basically the
Yeah,
and changing culture. Like, these are the three main things that difficult.
totally.
Yeah, maybe sales and stuff like that, but without, besides sales, changing culture, killing products, and firing people. So for us, telling them to kill products was something that I don't think they had expected from us.
Yeah, I guess so. That's fantastic. So, Dragos, and I love to talk a bit more about personal aspects. So,
Mm.
tell us about what's your guilty pleasure regarding self care or relaxation that you have. Tell us about a bit about you.
Ah, yeah. Well, sweet is a guilty pleasure in general, but chocolate is the one
Ah,
that
me
is
too.
the hardest to fight, and
Yeah,
I could have chocolate a day or something, like
yeah.
100 grams of chocolate every day. I had one yesterday. I
Ah,
actually, it was sort of a prize because I had a hard day, and it was midday. I felt like, oh, now I need a chocolate,
yeah,
and so I went for it, and it was fine.
that's good.
My scale this morning was okay. It didn't show any problems, so it was
Well,
fine.
that's
That's
great.
a guilty pleasure,
Yeah.
and maybe listening to some every now and then I could listen to some maybe 90s hip hop or rock or some things like that, so more like old music,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit more hardcore kind of thing,
And yeah.
uh, loud
And
in the
tell us,
car.
great. And tell us the hidden talent that you possess that most of people are unaware of.
Yeah,
What is
most
that?
people are unaware of me writing,
Yeah.
and especially poems. I like writing
Wow.
poems.
I didn't know that.
Uh,
Dragos.
yeah, well, I love fiction, I love literature, and I love poetry. And
Mm,
if in another life I would have been a copywriter or a writer or something
wow.
like that. So I would
I
work with
believe it.
words. I'm fascinated by language.
Yeah.
Another hidden talent, which maybe is important to you or somehow, I study Catalan.
Oh,
I speak a
come
bit
on.
of Spanish, and I study Catalan,
Come
which
on.
is your native
That's
language.
truly a surprise to me. So, yeah,
So,
so next time we will be in our calls, we will be talking in Catalan
or
instead
or
of
a mix of Catalan and Spanish, something like
in
that,
Spanish.
because I'm not
Yeah,
yet at that level.
yeah. Well, that's great. That's funny. and
Yeah, yeah.
last but not least, Dragos, what is the advice that you would give to your younger self?
Ah, the advice I would give to my younger self, to be more focused.
Uh huh.
That one, like, although maybe to get where I'm at, it needed to be more sort of spread out and not really think about a clear goal, but maybe not. Well, not really. Maybe this is not correct. Be more, let's say, not correct, not focus, but um, don't give up on your principles, because a couple
Uh
times
huh.
in my life I actually sort of gave up on my
Oh, yeah.
professional principles, not in a illegal way
Yeah.
or things like that,
No,
but
no, no. I get,
like, I got
but
I got tempted by my ego, so
yeah.
so that's the advice. So I got to the advice, don't get fooled by your own ego,
Yeah.
ego, like pride and over,
Hmm.
over infatuation of your of over yourself, and that's I
Yeah.
would that's what I would say to myself, to my younger self. Be humble,
Be
and
humble.
and
Yeah.
uh, you know, stick to your principles and your goals,
Yeah.
and everything will be fine. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it.
That's lovely. And thank you so much for sharing it and being so open with us.
Sure.
It was great listening to your insights. It has been wonderful to have you in our podcast, Let's Design Change, the Blueprint podcast. So I'm really thrilled to have you here. And I wish you good luck to your projects. And thank you all for joining us today in this episode of Let's Design Change, the Blue Mood podcast. I'm your host, Teresa Niwo. And don't forget to subscribe. And I look forward to having you here next time. Thank you, Dragos. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you, Teresa.
accepting my invitation to joining today. I really appreciate, and you know that it means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Teresa. Good luck with the podcast. I love to be here with you. And I hope more and more people will join. Yeah, guys, subscribe and look for the new, more exciting, guests that Teresa has in her pipeline.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. They are
I'll
coming.
follow
They
it.
are coming.
They are coming. I'll
Yeah,
follow it, and I know you're going to do great things with this, and you'll help a lot of people navigate change and or design their own changes. And so, good luck, everyone, with designing change.
yeah. Thank you so much, Dragos.
Thank you.